The deep space scanner beeped 3 times, breaking the quiet on the bridge of Earth's outer patrol ship Hawking. Captain James Reed looked up from his coffee, frowning at the unexpected signal. Nothing ever showed up this far out in the Kuiper Belt, except for ice and rocks. "Sir, you need to see this," said Bill, the ship's sensor operator. His hand shook as he brought up the main screen. "It's not a comet." The image cleared, showing a dark shape against the stars. It was huge, at least 3 times the size of their ship, and definitely not natural. Its hull was covered in strange markings, and massive holes tore through its side like something had ripped through the metal. Reed put down his coffee. "How long has it been there?" "That's the strange part, sir. Our last scan of this sector was just 2 weeks ago. There was nothing here then." Bill zoomed in on the image. "Whatever it is, it's new." The bridge crew gathered around the screen, their faces lit by its blue glow. None of them said what they were all thinking. They had just found proof of alien life, and it had come in the form of a dead warship. "Take us closer," Reed ordered. "But keep the defense systems ready. Dead or not, I don't like surprises." As the Hawking moved toward the wreck, more details became clear. The ship's design was like nothing they had seen before. Its hull was made of a black metal that seemed to eat light, and what they thought were markings were actually deep grooves that formed complex patterns across its surface. "Life signs?" Reed asked. "None, sir, but there's still power running through some systems. Very weak, but it's there." Reed made his decision. "Suit up. We're going aboard." The boarding team consisted of Reed and 3 others: Sam the engineer, Maria the science officer, and Jack the security chief. Their magnetic boots clanked against the alien hull as they walked toward one of the holes. Their helmet lights showed the edges of the damage, which looked like they had been melted by something impossibly hot. Inside, the ship was a maze of twisted corridors and strange machinery. The artificial gravity still worked in some sections, making their movement awkward and unpredictable. They found no bodies, but there were signs of a fight. Blast marks on walls and emergency systems, still flashing weak warnings in an unknown language. In what they guessed was the ship's control center, Maria found something that made her blood run cold. "Captain, you need to see this," she called out, her voice shaking. A holographic display flickered to life as they approached. It showed a star map with a line of red dots moving toward a blue dot. More red dots appeared from the edges, all heading to the same place. "That blue dot," Reed said slowly. "I think it's Earth." Sam worked on the controls, and numbers appeared next to the red dots. "These are timestamps, sir, and if I'm reading this right." He paused, double-checking his calculations. "Whatever these red dots are, they're coming. 8 months from now." The team stood in silence, watching the dots move across the map. This wasn't just a dead ship, it was a warning. Somewhere out there, a fleet was heading toward Earth, and based on the damage they'd seen, they weren't coming for a friendly visit. "Download everything," Reed ordered. "Every file, every piece of data. And grab any tech samples we can safely take. Earth needs to know what's coming." As they worked, a final message flashed across the holographic display. The language was alien, but somehow the meaning was clear. It was an apology. Whoever had crewed this ship had tried to warn Earth, and it had cost them their lives. Reed took one last look at the alien bridge before they left. In 8 months, Earth would face something it had never seen before. They had that long to learn everything they could from this ship, to prepare for what was coming. The Hawking's engines fired up, turning the ship toward home. In its cargo hold, it carried the most important salvage in human history, and the most terrifying warning humanity had ever received. The Geneva Conference Center buzzed with nervous energy as world leaders filled the main hall. Outside, snow fell on the gathered crowds who watched the emergency summit on giant screens. Everyone knew why they were here. The alien ship found in the Kuiper Belt had changed everything. Dr. Anna Mills stood backstage, checking her presentation one last time. Her hands trembled slightly as she looked at the photos of the alien technology. 3 weeks of non-stop work had given her team some answers, but those answers only led to more worrying questions. The UN secretary called her name, and Anna walked onto the stage. 500 of the most powerful people on Earth looked back at her. Some seemed afraid, others angry, but all needed to hear what she had discovered. The alien ship was running from something. She began, her voice steady despite her nerves. Its weapons were fired, its engines were pushed beyond their limits, and its crew. She paused, letting the words sink in. Its crew erased themselves from the ship's memory before they died. They didn't want their enemies to learn anything if they were caught. The hall stayed quiet as Anna showed them the star maps, the weapon signatures, and the engine readings. The good news is that we can understand their technology. The better news is that we can copy it. The bad news. She brought up an image of the incoming fleet. We have only 8 months before they arrive. Shouts and arguments broke out across the hall. The Chinese premier stood up first. How can we fight them? We barely understand their weapons. Anna smiled for the first time. Actually, we understand their weapons very well. They use focused energy beams, like our lasers but much stronger. Their shields block physical objects. Their computers are fast but simple. In many ways, they're just like us. But they stopped thinking of new ideas a long time ago. She clicked to her final slide, showing a design that her team had worked on day and night. This is what we can build. A ship that uses their technology but fights in ways they won't expect. We can't match their experience, but we can surprise them. They think in straight lines. We think sideways. The room erupted in questions. The Russian president's voice cut through the noise. How much will it cost? How many resources? Everything, Anna answered honestly. We'll need every major shipyard, every top scientist, and materials we'll have to mine from the asteroid belt. It will drain our economies and push our people to their limits. The U.S. president stood up slowly. And if we don't build it? Anna's face hardened. Then we pray the aliens are friendly. But based on what they did to the ship that tried to warn us, I wouldn't count on it. Silence fell over the hall again. The UN secretary called for a vote. One by one, hands raised. Some quickly, some slowly, but in the end, every hand was up. Project Aegis was approved. As Anna left the stage, she heard the arguments starting about budgets, resources, and leadership. But those were good problems. They meant people were ready to work together. A race against time had begun. Back in her office that night, Anna looked at the alien metal sample on her desk. Its strange black surface reflected nothing, absorbing all light that hit it. Humanity had 8 months to turn this piece of metal into a warship that could save Earth. She picked up her phone and started calling her team. They had work to do. The lunar dust swirled around Tom Wilson's boots as he walked across the massive shipyard carved into the moon's surface. Above him, the skeleton of humanity's first true warship took shape against the star-filled sky. 3 years of non-stop work had transformed Luna Base, one from a research station, into the largest construction site in human history. Tom checked his tablet as warning bells rang through the yard. Another section of alien hybrid armor was being lowered into place. The black metal gleamed under the work lights, its surface now marked with human writing and warning labels. They had learned to manufacture it 6 months ago, after countless failed attempts that had cost both lives and resources. The targeting system is acting up again. His radio crackled. Mike from weapons control sounded tired. Everyone was tired. The alien computers don't like our targeting solutions. They keep trying to calculate perfect shots instead of using the baseball scatter pattern. Tom smiled despite his exhaustion. The targeting system had been his idea. Why try to match alien precision when you could fill space with so many shots that dodging was impossible? It was like a pitcher throwing a handful of baseballs instead of just one. Not elegant, but effective. In the main control room, screens showed progress across all sectors. The engine room was a maze of pipes and cables. human technology grafted onto alien power systems. The shield generators hummed with energy they barely understood. But it worked. Somehow, it all worked. "Sir," called out Lisa from the testing bay. "You need to see this." She pointed to a screen showing the latest hull stress test. The numbers were better than expected. "The metal remembers," she explained. "Every hit makes it stronger, like muscle memory." The aliens never used it this way because their tests were always perfect. They never pushed it to fail. That was the key to everything they built. Human engineering wasn't about perfection. It was about learning from failures. While alien technology sought perfect solutions, humanity's strength lay in trying the impossible until it worked. The ship's AI core presented another challenge. Alien ships used simple command systems, but Earth's first starship needed something more flexible. They built it using games, thousands of space combat simulations, historical naval battles, and even sports strategies. The AI learned to think like a human commander, understanding that sometimes the craziest plan was the best one. Tom walked through the nearly finished corridors, checking each system personally. The medical bay combined alien healing technology with human surgical techniques. The bridge mixed holographic displays with physical controls because humans needed to feel what they were doing. Even the crew quarters showed this blend, alien materials making human spaces safer and more comfortable. Alert flashed on his tablet. The first full power test would begin in an hour. Tom headed to the bridge, remembering how this had all started 3 years ago. Most people thought they were crazy, trying to build something like this. Looking at it now, maybe they were crazy. But with the alien fleet getting closer every day, crazy was exactly what Earth needed. The ship still had no name. That would come later, in a ceremony watched by billions. For now, it was just Project Aegis, humanity's shield against the coming storm. As Tom reached the bridge and looked at the banks of controls, some alien, some human, all working together, he allowed himself to hope. Maybe they had a chance after all. The newly christened ESD Sentinel drifted silently near Mars, its black hull almost invisible against space. Commander Mark Roberts watched the final system checks on his bridge display. Their first real space trial had gone well, too well. Something didn't feel right. "Contact." The sensor officer's voice cut through the quiet. "Unknown signature at extreme range. It matches the patterns from the wreck." Mark's hands tightened on his chair. They weren't supposed to find any aliens here. This was just a test run, a chance to make sure everything worked before heading back to Earth. The ship wasn't ready for combat. But ready or not, an alien scout had found them. "Show me," he ordered. The main screen lit up, displaying a sleek vessel moving fast through Mars orbit. It was smaller than the Sentinel, but moved with deadly grace. The alien ship hadn't spotted them yet. Their human-modified stealth systems were working. The bridge crew looked to Mark for orders. Their mission was clear: stay hidden, test the systems, return home. Fighting wasn't part of the plan. But if this scout reported back to its fleet, Earth would lose its only advantage: surprise. "Battle stations," Mark said quietly. Warning lights flashed as the crew rushed to their positions. In the engine room, engineers diverted power to weapons and shields. In the targeting center, gunners activated their baseball-inspired targeting systems. The alien ship changed course. It had spotted them. "Enemy vessel charging weapons," Tactical reported. "They're sending signals, probably calling for backup." Mark made his decision. All ahead full. Target their communications array. Let's see what this ship can do. The Sentinel's engines roared to life. The alien ship reacted instantly, firing brilliant energy beams that the Sentinel's shields barely deflected. Alarms blared as systems stressed beyond their tested limits. Multiple hits, shields at 60%. Can't get a lock with main guns. They're too fast. Mark smiled. Switch to scattershot mode. Don't try to hit them. Fill their space with fire. The Sentinel's guns spoke, not with single precise shots, but with waves of energy. The alien ship dodged gracefully, but there was nowhere to dodge to. Multiple hits struck its hull. Direct hits, but their armor's too strong. Wait. The tactical officer leaned forward. Sir, the baseball targeting is working. Each volley is learning from the last, adjusting like a pitcher studying a batter. The alien ship struck back. A beam pierced their weakened shields, carving a deep gash along the Sentinel's hull. Damage reports flooded in, but the ship held together. The alien metal was doing its job, growing stronger with each hit. Communications array destroyed. Tactical reported. They're blind. The alien ship turned to run, but Mark wasn't finished. All power to main guns. And this. The Sentinel's main cannon fired, its blast enhanced by everything they'd learned about alien technology. The enemy ship's shields flared and died. A second shot split it in half. As the glow of battle faded, Mark stared at the wreckage. They'd won, but at a cost. The Sentinel's hull was scared, its systems strained. More importantly, the element of surprise was gone. The alien fleet would know someone was fighting back. Get damage control teams moving, he ordered. And send a message to Earth. Tell them we're bloody but ready. And the Sentinel works better than we hoped. The ship turned toward home, its black hull marked with new scars that glowed faintly red. They had 8 days of repairs ahead of them. After that, the real war would begin. Sparks flew in the lunar shipyard as repair crews worked around the clock on the Sentinel's battle-scarred hull. Dr. Anna Mills watched from the observation deck, her mind racing with calculations. The ship had survived its first fight, but the real battle lay ahead. The alien scout was testing us. She explained to the gathered military leaders. Its weapons were running at half power. The main fleet will hit harder. She pulled up the combat data on her tablet. But we learned something important. They fight like machines. Perfect, predictable, and completely thrown off by human chaos. The Sentinel's AI core hummed as it processed new combat data. They had fed it recordings of the battle, letting it learn from every hit and miss. But Anna's team had added something new. Thousands of hours of old naval battles. Wooden ships fighting in storms, submarines hunting in the depths, carriers striking from beyond the horizon. The AI needed to think like a human admiral, not an alien computer. Down in the weapons bay, engineers installed new targeting systems. The baseball scatter approach had worked, but they needed more. They added randomized firing patterns based on cricket bowling, the curving shots of soccer free kicks, even the unpredictable spins of tennis serves. Every human sport that involved projectiles contributed its wisdom to the weapon systems. 12 days, Commander Roberts muttered, watching the work from the bridge. That's how long until the alien fleet arrived. The crew trained in simulators, running battle scenarios over and over. They learned to think sideways, to use the ship in ways its builders hadn't intended. The Sentinel's shield generators could be overcharged to create explosive bursts. Its communication arrays could generate false sensor readings. Even the artificial gravity could be weaponized, creating zones of chaos in space. Anna's team made one final modification to the ship's core systems. They removed the safety limits, the careful restrictions that kept the alien technology stable. They built everything to be perfect, she told the worried engineers. But we're not looking for perfect. We're looking for impossible. The crew quarters filled with personal items, lucky charms, family photos, pieces of Earth they carried with them. They knew the odds. 15 alien warships against 1 human vessel. But the Sentinel had something the alien ships didn't. A crew that knew how to improvise, to bend rules, to try crazy ideas just because they might work. In the final hours before departure, Anna made one last inspection. The ship had changed since its first launch. Its clean lines were now marked with patches and repairs. The alien metal had adapted, growing stronger where it had been hit. Like the humans who built it, the Sentinel had learned from its wounds. The evacuation alarm sounded through the shipyard. It was time. As crews made final checks, Anna touched the ship's hull. They had done everything they could. Now it was up to the crew to prove that humanity's first starship could stand against the best the galaxy could throw at it. Saturn's rings glowed softly in the distant sunlight as the Sentinel waited. Commander Roberts watched his tactical display, where 15 red dots approached in perfect formation. The alien fleet had arrived. "All hands to battle stations," he ordered quietly. The crew moved with practiced precision, each person knowing this might be Earth's last stand. They had chosen Saturn's rings for their final defense. Billions of ice particles that could confuse sensors and shield their movements. The alien ships emerged from light speed, their silver hulls gleaming. Each one was larger than the Sentinel, their weapons already charging. The lead ship broadcast a demand for surrender in all known frequencies. "Launch the mining charges," Roberts commanded. Hundreds of simple mining explosives, normally used for breaking up asteroids, drifted into the rings. The alien fleet ignored them, their sensors dismissing such primitive devices as irrelevant. The first alien salvo lit up space. The Sentinel dove into the rings, ice particles scattering around its shields. Its baseball targeting systems opened up, not aiming for kills but forcing the alien ships to move where Roberts wanted them. "Detonate pattern Alpha," he ordered. Mining charges exploded throughout the rings, turning clouds of ice into hypersonic shrapnel. 2 alien ships lost shields, their perfect formation breaking for the first time. The Sentinel struck hard, its main guns firing in random patterns learned from human sports. The aliens tried to predict the shots, but there was no pattern to predict. One ship fell, then another, their hulls torn apart by attacks they couldn't anticipate. But the aliens learned fast. Energy beams sliced through the rings, superheating ice into explosive steam. The Sentinel's shields buckled under combined fire from 3 directions. "Hull breach on Deck 4, engineering reported. "The armor's holding, but we can't take much more." Roberts smiled grimly. "Activate gravity pulse." The Sentinel's artificial gravity generators overloaded, creating a wave of distorted space. Ice particles and debris curved in impossible arcs, following paths no computer could calculate. 3 more alien ships fell to their own weapons, their perfect targeting systems confused by the chaotic gravity fields. 8 ships left, Tactical reported. "But our main guns are offline. Shields at 15%. Roberts watched the alien fleet regroup. They had abandoned their perfect formation, adapting to human tactics. The next attack would be worse. "All power to the engines," he ordered. Rammed the lead ship. The crew didn't hesitate. The Sentinel accelerated straight at the alien flagship, its damaged hull gleaming with internal fire. The alien ship scattered, not understanding why an enemy would attempt something so foolish. At the last second, the Sentinel fired its remaining mining charges and cut engines. The sudden stop threw out a cloud of debris just as the charges detonated. The flagship vanished in a ball of fire, taking 2 more ships with it. Multiple hull breaches. Engineering screamed. "We're venting atmosphere." 5 ships left, Tactical reported calmly. "They're pulling back, trying to regroup." Roberts checked his displays. The Sentinel was badly hurt, but still fighting. More importantly, the alien fleet had lost its coordinated perfection. They were fighting as individuals now, and that was a battle humans knew how to win. The Sentinel's bridge flickered with emergency lighting as the 5 remaining alien ships circled like wolves. Smoke filled the air from burned-out consoles, and the deck thrummed with the sound of failing engines. Commander Roberts wiped blood from a cut above his eye, watching the tactical display through the haze. "Status," he called out, his voice rough from breathing smoke. "Main guns dead. Shields gone. Hull integrity at 20%. The tactical officer paused. "But the aliens aren't in formation anymore. They're scared." Roberts nodded. The alien fleet had started this battle with perfect precision and overwhelming force. Now they moved cautiously, unsure what human trick might come next. They had learned to fear Earth's creativity, but they hadn't learned enough. Engineering. Do we still have power to the gravity systems? Barely, sir. Maybe one more pulse. Ready all remaining mining charges. Every last one. Robert straightened in his chair. And give me ship-wide. The intercom crackled. Every surviving crew member listened as their commander spoke. We've shown them that humanity won't go quietly. Now let's show them why they should never come back. All hands, brace for final maneuver. The Sentinel's engines roared one last time, pushing the wounded ship straight up out of Saturn's ring plane. The alien vessels followed, their weapons charging for a killing blow. At precisely the right moment, Roberts gave the order. Now. The last mining charges detonated below the alien ships, throwing a cloud of ice and rock upward. At the same instant, the Sentinel's gravity pulse fired downward. Physics took over. The wave of artificial gravity met the rising debris cloud, accelerating ice particles to impossible speeds. 3 alien ships vanished instantly, torn apart by millions of ice shards moving faster than bullets. A 4th spun away, its hull shredded. The last ship, perhaps finally understanding what they faced, turned to run. They're sending a transmission, communications reported, broadcasting on all frequencies. The message was clear. Earth was not the easy target they had expected. Humanity had taken their advanced technology and turned it into something new, something unpredictable. The cost of victory would be too high. The last alien ship vanished into light speed, carrying word of its defeat to the stars. On the Sentinel's bridge, the crew cheered despite their wounds and exhaustion. They had done the impossible. Send word to Earth, Roberts ordered. Tell them. He looked around at his battered bridge, at the crew who had fought with everything they had. Tell them this was just the beginning. 6 months later, the Sentinel limped back into lunar orbit, its battle-scarred hull a testament to humanity's first steps into the galaxy. In the years that followed, more ships would join it, each one combining alien technology with human ingenuity in new ways. The stars had learned that Earth was not helpless, and its people were not bound by the rules of conventional warfare. The Sentinel never flew again, too damaged to repair, but it remained in orbit as a monument. Its scared hull a reminder that humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology or numbers, but the ability to face impossible odds with determination and creativity. The age of Earth's space fleet had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.